Hey guys, what's happening? We're just flying through these fantasy baseballs fast and furious. For the time being, we did a betting video. That's not even up anymore because clearly the NCAA is canceling some games right now. We're all in a big state of influx right now. So there's a couple things I wanted to talk about before we actually get into why we want to talk over this guy for fantasy baseball. A few things. One, we're going to be doing a ton of these. Stay tuned, subscribe, like them, help us out because we need your help right now. But it's not just us. There are a lot of people who are going to be put in positions over the next couple of weeks, couple of months, or however long this will last that are going to need help from us. Let's all band together as people right now. And for those of us whose jobs aren't affected, there are going to be people, hourly workers all over the place who are going to have no money to live on. If you have the ability to help people out right now, please do so. Some of you guys will not be affected whatsoever. This is a great opportunity for us as just human beings in this nation of ours to help each other out if given the opportunity, because there are people more affected and less affected by the current situation. So if you can help out, if you're in a bad situation, hopefully we can all get through this together, because this is going to displace a lot of people throughout the country.
Man, I couldn't agree more. A lot of people are going to be struggling through this time. As more stuff closes, everything gets shut down. It's a big deal when NCAA tournament and NBA is shutting down. It's you just don't see that before. So yeah, if you have the ability to help out, people can use it. And great point.
And just to like piggyback off of that, we're both been pretty fortunate in our lives. I know that, our income for us will suffer the next couple of weeks, but I'm also know that when it comes down to it, I have people and I have a support system in my life that if things get bad enough, I have people that I can turn to. And not everybody has that. And if you have the ability to support people like that, it's a great opportunity to show who you are as a human being, because this is an unprecedented situation. And if you're watching this a few weeks later before waiting for the baseball season to start, it may not be, things may have gotten better. We just really don't know. It's such an unprecedented thing.
Great way to put it, man.
So we got that. On the flip side of that, a website that we feature a lot and we talk about a lot is our partners over at Overlay. And you were telling me what a great job they did last night of refunding entries to everybody, but also paying out people who were successfully paid out for a reason. They had a lot of off the board matchups because of clearly, things weren't on the board. So the customer service over here is really second to none.
Yeah, you can't beat it, man. I mean, I entered 10 times last night. None of them were going to cash. None of them cashed. I got all my entries fees back. Still feel like I'm on a hot run.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens. I'm assuming the jackpot will still be there when we get back. Hopefully we get an opportunity to win it. But that being said, guys, we're here to talk about a Cleveland Indians outfielder, a very, very young slugger. Goes by the name of Franmil Reyes. You being an Indians guy, it sounds like you're pretty stoked about him this year.
I am stoked about him. I feel like he's been a kind of a five-pack darling for a couple of years. Wasn't seeing like consistent playing time in San Diego, an awful ballpark for his power. Moved to the AL the second half of last year. Really showed some signs of that power. Now locked into an everyday job in Cleveland, a year kind of in, has had spring training to get acclimated with the club, has absolutely crushed this spring training, been the Indians' best hitter.
Yeah, I
I
want to
love
side before you keep going on that, to the point that he has played 10 games. He's been to bat 29 times, 9 extra base hits, including 5 bombs over the spring.
I mean, he's absolutely crushing. So, well, I don't like him because of that. It certainly doesn't hurt. It's something you would say.
Yeah, it won't talk you out of it, will it?
No, definitely not. A young guy that seems to be coming into his own, more acclimated to AL pitching. I think that, and, I've talked to you about how I think the White Sox are a sleeper and the Twins are obviously really good. But the Indians are kind of like that consummate and the adult in the room, you could say, to put it, kind of in an out there type of term. But it's true. They're a team that's been there, done that. Obviously they've got Lindor and Jose Ramirez, and I think that Franmil Reyes just fits right in there along with Carlos Santana in the middle of their lineup. They've added a couple other older guys, Domingo Santana, Cesar Hernandez.
I like Cesar Hernandez.
Yeah, I mean the Indians lineup is not bad.
No, it's not bad. It's good. Especially if Ramirez plays like the guy from 2 years ago or from like the late part of last year as opposed to the early portion.
You're right, because Santana's good. Like he had that off year in Philly, but that now looks like an off year. Like that just looks like an aberration.
He's comfortable in Cleveland.
Yeah, exactly. And he'd always said that. He loved it in Cleveland. He wanted to come back. That's his home. So he fits there. He is older, but he's just he's almost like a Jose Abreu type where he's just gonna get his numbers.
So Lindor is one of the better players in all of baseball. Clearly, he's a top 10 hitter, and because he plays the second most important position on the defense, he is, to me, like arguably a top 5 player within all of baseball. So you have him at the top of the lineup. You got the wily veteran in Carlos Santana. And then you also got a lot of upside plays right here. What I mean by that is I've always liked Delino DeShields, and I'm interested to see what he could do with some more consistent playing time. Oscar Mercado has shown flashes. The Indians right now look a lot like a fantasy baseball team that I draft, where you got some consistent players up top, and then you got a whole bunch of other guys that you're hoping a couple of them work out.
And that's what these teams need to do that don't have a lot of money. We talked about it with the Brewers, how they're stockpiling with the Logan Morrisons of the world. And I love that approach. You're right. A bunch of these young guys for the Indians aren't going to work out. But
Jake Bauers, Oscar Mercado,
Naquin, a guy that didn't play at all last year, that I think could be better than all of them. Bradley Zimmer, remember him?
Yeah, who's the other outfielder that's been there for a while? I'm not seeing on the roster anymore. I think he was a lefty.
Chisenhall.
Thank you. I was just drawing a blank on him, and I just could not think of the name. Thank you.
So he signed with Pittsburgh last year, but missed the whole year because of an injury, and then retired this offseason because of that injury, I think.
Yeah, I could not think of the guy who's been. I feel like he's been on the Indians forever, and I'm just like, where is his name in the mix? And it had been so long since I had heard it.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. And the other guy that is actually good against lefties is Luplow.
Yeah, so there's a lot of depth right here, and it's another reason to like Franmil Reyes. Again, you mentioned in the beginning, this guy's a slugger. You mentioned how San Diego isn't a great place to hit. It's not as bad as it once since they moved in the fences, but this guy's got power to the point that he hit 27 home runs in San Diego last year and 321 at-bats. Fast math on that, you're looking at a home run approximately every 12 ABs. That's big-time power. This kid is 6'5", 275 pounds. I want you to really wrap your brain around how big he is.
He's massive. He's he's obviously not Aaron Judge, tall and stature, but he's one of the bigger sluggers in the game.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I have to assume that
he might weigh more than Judge.
If you look at Stanton, I think he's like an inch shorter, but 30 pounds heavier.
Yeah, and he looks it too. I mean, he's just a monster.
Now, he's not chiseled the way that Stanton is, but he is just country strong. He's a big boy.
He's definitely not as chiseled as Stanton. In the outfield, he definitely can look out of place a little bit, but at the plate, he's got power for days. He's one of those.
He's going to be doing a lot of DHing this year too.
Yeah, him and Santana, him and Domingo are supposed to split the outfield, split right field, and split DH. What was I going to say? We talk a lot about these guys like Stanton, who's with the most power. Reyes is right there, on the next level, right below a Gallo, Nelson Cruz. He's right there.
Yeah, we talk about how Stanton and Judge seem to be on another level when healthy, if that ever happens. And then below them, all the 1Bs are the Nelson Cruzes, Miguel Sano, for example.
Yeah, exactly. I think he's right there.
So Franmil Reyes is another guy that, and it seems to be a theme with a lot of the guys that we're talking about today. If you look through their projections and rankings from fantasy baseball experts throughout the industry, they're all over the place. If you look at them over on the Sporting News right now, we're talking 7th round pick. That doesn't seem early to me at all. You know what I mean? If I'm looking at Mike Clevenger, Franmil Reyes, or Jose Abreu, I don't think of him as a steal right there necessarily. However, if you flip over to, say, for example, over to Fantasy Pros, where they have him ranked in the 12th round at 113th overall, I think that's a hell of a value player right there.
I agree. Agreed. Another guy that depends on your league scoring. If you get penalized for strikeouts, in a points league, that makes me like him less.
Yeah, he's a big strikeout guy.
A massive, and you'll see a lot of that with guys these days. But real quick, I just want to ask this, and then we'll get off. But I agree with your points about Lindor. He's a top 5 player right there. Who do you think, if you had to start a franchise with one of these guys, and I know I've asked you this before, but right now, Lindor or Arenado?
Right now, Lindor, because I believe he's a couple years younger too than Arenado.
They're probably comparable, but yeah, he's a couple years younger.
So Lindor is, 25? 25.
I want to say Arenado's 28, 29.
That would be my guess, too, which is a big difference to me in baseball.
True.
28 years old. So, I mean, it would be Lindor. Also, as great as Arenado is as a fielder, Lindor is also a very, very good fielder. Maybe not quite to the level of Arenado, because Arenado might arguably be the best defensive third baseman we've ever seen. But Lindor is an excellent defensive shortstop, but it just means more at the shortstop position.
It does. Lindor's one guy you can't really argue that Arenado. Most people can say, well, the defense for Arenado. Lindor's like right there,
Right?
but Arenado also has like hitting wise, like they're also really close though. But Arenado has cores. I think they're very comparable, in my opinion.
Yeah, Lindor's got 2 Gold Gloves in 4 years. Second Rookie of the Year, finished top 5 in the MVP. He steals bases, which is something you don't get out of Nolan Arenado. He hits for a lot of pop for a guy his size. I mean, for me, a guy like Franmil Reyes who hits for pop is no big deal because he's so big. But for a guy that's an inch taller but 8 pounds lighter than I am, who can hit the ball like Lindor, for me, that's always so impressive.
His power is insane. I mean,
he's a little dude.
He's got some of the biggest power for like a little guy I've ever seen. He's also, the other thing about him, man, like he's so clutch. Like he's just a superstar in every sense of the word. It sucks the Indians won't be able to keep him.
I'm thinking of Happy Gilmore with Chubbs. He's like, it's all in the hips. It's all in the hips because Lindor snaps those hips off and gets massive power.
He is one of those few guys that, like, if you were starting a team, that like you could make an argument to take him over Mike Trout or like Acuna because of the shortstop.
Yes, it's difficult to take anybody over Mike Trout.
Sure,
but I mean the argument can be made right here because he is. Just look at what he's done throughout his career. Maybe he's not a 300 hitter perennially, but he's going to hit into the upper 2s. He's got a solid on-base percentage. He runs the bases. He plays Gold Glove caliber shortstop. He hits for power. You've mentioned watching him every day. He has the intangibles that you like. So it does give you a nice starting off point for this Cleveland offense. And I like Cesar Hernandez.
So do I.
Somewhere into the bottom of the order.
I don't know. I feel like he's hitting second, don't you?
You think Delino DeShields moves to the bottom of the order?
Yeah. I'm also, I think their lineup changes depending righty-lefty because I know Luplow will play versus lefties. They like Luplow.
You got a lot of outfield depth right here for guys that could potentially, and that's the problem with drafting a guy like a Delino DeShields is don't be surprised at the end of the year he just ain't even a starter, and one of these guys are.
The other guy that I like for the Indians, not necessarily from a fantasy perspective, although he was good last year, is Roberto Perez. He continuously gets slept on. Catcher has become so weak also that he's fine, in my opinion.
Yeah, the way I look at catcher this year for fantasy drafts, if you don't get a guy early, wait till the last pick.
Catcher's also a position where, like, if you don't get, like, a Gary Sanchez and you want to take, like, 2 guys, like, and keep one on your bench and whichever one's better, I'm fine with that. Now, you don't need to do that because most of the time you can pick up that guy anyways, but it just depends on your league.
I know we get off topic on these a little bit as we start talking about them as a whole, but when we go back over to the catcher position, something that we've talked about, like you love Gary Sanchez for all the good reasons. Real Muto's solid. Grandal, for me, like after Mitch Garver, who still isn't even the safest thing,
right?
Like if I don't get one of those guys, you can just wait me out. I'll grab
Alfaro.
Yeah, whatever it might be all the way down here.
Catcher is weak. Like that's
Roberto Perez is way down here.
I mean, yeah, I'm fine with him there. Catcher sucks. The Tom Murphy.
Yep. So definitely wait. And again, Murphy might be a good sleeper this year because with Narvaez moving over to my Milwaukee Brewers, he should see everyday run at catcher, you'd think.
For sure. I will say I like Wilson Ramos. Like he's not going to win you anything, but he's solid.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. That being said, guys, even Mitch Garver, who I like, bounce back year last year in a good lineup. Hell, Contreras has not been that good the last couple of years.
No, for me, I think I have Sanchez over Real Muto too, just for his upside. I like Real Muto a lot. I think both those guys. You're right though. After Garver, it's a big drop, but I feel like the top 3 is pretty solidified also.
And even though we like Gary Sanchez, like since his rookie year, he has not been that consistent. He's hit for a poor average. You got to like the lineup that he's in and the ballpark that he plays in. And the fact that he's in the AL and he can DH so he can get you a couple extra games right there is big.
Yeah.
But if I don't get one of these guys up the top, I'm just waiting and waiting and waiting because whether I get Carson Kelly or Christian Vasquez, I don't really care.
This is one where I want Sanchez, but like I'm not dying for him so bad that like if someone else could take him before me, like we said, it only takes one. And
every draft has a Yankee lover.
Yeah, and you can't like draft. I mean, that's the thing about snake drafts. I mean, even in auction drafts, you can't get everyone you want because you just can't do it. There's more people that money, and there's probably more players that you want than you can actually roster. So you have to make some concessions somewhere. I like Sanchez, but someone might like him more than me.
All right, so back to the subject at hand, though. We were talking about Franmil Reyes. We have a tendency to get off topic on that. He's a guy whose rankings are dispersed all over the place, but I think that the power, especially if you're lacking in home runs as you put together your draft, and being able to get a guy like that in round 9, perhaps. I mean, don't be surprised at all at the end of the season if Reyes plays a full year, getting the DH a lot, and the number of home runs he hits has a 4 at the beginning of it.
Yeah, I'm with you 100% there.
The other point for his hitting is Cleveland's a hitter-friendly ballpark. He's got good players around him. Also, the AL Central is put together isn't exactly loaded with a lot of starting pitching that you're scared of.
No, it's not. A little changing of the tide here.
You've got a couple of fairly hitter-friendly ballparks. Well, I guess we'll rank it in the middle as far as the ballparks go. So it's not a bad place to be offensively.
Well, you're right, though. As far as the pitching, like the Indians have all that good pitching. So
yeah.
Tigers got nothing. Royals got nothing. White Sox are making improvements, but they're not, don't have an A staff. And then the Twins hardly have an A staff. So you're right.
And that matters. You play like half your games against your division. And when Jose Barrios might be the top pitcher you're going up against, I mean, he's not a leader or anything like that.
I'm with you. Like, he should cook against this division.
Exactly. All right, guys, that's what we got for today. We appreciate y'all watching. Don't forget what we said in the beginning. Try to help out people. Might be a rough go of it for a while, but we will get along as human beings and figure this thing out.
And we'll still be pumping out these fantasy baseball videos because we got nothing else.